Well, Manipur has been marred by violence for the past fortnight. The state has been witness to a spate of violence since a 31-year-old mother of three was charred to death in Jiribam. Following this, a 34-year-old woman farmer being gunned down while working in paddy fields at Bishnupur. Militants then targeting farmers in Sanasabi Loukol village in Imphal East. When the BSF and Mahar regiment came to the aid of the farmers, one army jawan was injured in the ensuing gunfire. However, things took a turn for the worse. 6 members of a family, including women and children, were abducted and killed. Their bodies were found floating on the Jiri River. All these developments have sparked widespread protests in Manipur. A few days ago, hundreds took to the streets in Imphal Valley, and today a mock coffin march was taken out in Churachandrapur. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Home Affairs has directed the security forces to restore peace and has urged the people to cooperate with them. The centre has also decided to deploy an additional 50 CAPF companies with 5,000 personnel. Additionally, a few important cases have been handed over to the NIA. Meanwhile, a war of words is raging on the political front. Mallikarjun Kharge has penned a letter urging the president to intervene to bring an end to the violence. Simultaneously, P. Chidambaram has jumped in and called for the removal of the Chief Minister in a now deleted tweet. Chief Minister Biren Singh has responded by slamming the Congress and pointing out that the crux of the matter is illegal immigration. It is obvious that a 360-degree action plan is the need of the hour, but as politicians point score, we ask, will President's rule really solve the crisis in Manipur? Alright, let's discuss. Major General Sanjay Mesno, defense expert, joins us on the program. Major General Sudhakarji, defense expert, also with us on the show. Thangminlal Daungel, research scholar of the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration. He's a cookie voice, joins us on the show. Kesham Kishan, advocate of High Court. He's from Manipur. He's a Methi voice, joins us on the show as well. All right, General Mesno, I'll begin with you, sir. Sir, is this problem largely attributed to illegal immigration? From what we have been reading, from what we have been talking about, and from what we have been observing, that there has been a history of clashes between these two communities. You know, they fall out of favor with each other and things come back to normal. It is something which has happened in the past as well. I remember the late 90s as well. You know, these clashes took place in Manipur and then there was peace for a couple of decades. Of course, there is a new dynamic, there's a new angle of immigration, illegal immigration, as well as outside support, which is being solicited at this point in time in Manipur. How would you read this problem? And is the government of the day doing enough? Should heads roll in the government in Manipur for letting this happen?
Vineet, good evening. A very pertinent question. I think it is how anyone would like to play out the narrative. Incidentally, my army career started from Manipur itself. Way back in 1982, I was posted there as a second lieutenant. And I recollect, including I was in Ukhrul and of course the Imphal Valley. And one is to interact with the locals. I somehow always felt that there was a bond harmony between the two communities and there was not a problem. Yes, you are right. At some times occasional incidents have happened, but why do they happen? I think they happen more because of political issues, not of the local issues. They are not at all an issue, I would put it very bluntly and mildly. Is it illegal immigration? We have been an independent country in 1947. There have been so many governments who have gone and come in the center, and there have been similarly so many in the state government. The issue, if it is attributable to illegal immigration, then that should have been from day one, since the time we have been constituted or we gained independence. So that truly is not a problem. See, the borders have been always porous there. The Indian Army, let me tell you, we have seen a lot of action. In fact, I remember in Ukhrul itself, we lost 21 people from 21 Sikh when I was posted there. And I have seen the kind of bloodshed, and there were a large number of rebels that time, including the NSC and IM and K both. So we had also gone for a huge surgical strike inside Myanmar way back in 1982 August in two villages, Hokiat and Shevelo. So what I'm trying to highlight is this problem is not new. However, now it is being played as between the two ethnicities, and unfortunately, we need a lot of people including from both the communities, are now blaming each other as victims and as aggressors, which is the irony. I think I would put it very bluntly, it's a political problem. The Chief Minister who has been ruling the state, now this is his second tenure, I think he has to firstly depict himself as the leader of the Manipuri people. He cannot depict himself as a leader of a particular community. This is where we fail. And today we are two panelists from the Indian Army, I think, and luckily we both are from the Maha Regiment. I would go to the extent of saying that our upbringing has been such, we have treated everyone equally. We never see race, caste, color, religion, anything. Now here, people are talking about, ethnicity and the Methi communities. Now let me put it bluntly, when the problem happened, all the armories were looted and everything was happened. So thereafter the problem has arisen. Now who to blame? I think both sides have to be blamed equally. Now the wounds have become so deep rooted. Let me tell you, I have done a UN mission in Rwanda way back in 95, where I saw this 1.5 million genocide between two tribes there, Hutus and Tutsis. I think this is what now is going to happen here. The divide is so bad now that I do not know. I see for the next 5 decades this problem will linger on. The kind of beheadings, people being burned from both sides. It's not that one community is suffering. The whole problem is this has not been resolved, and then we have a knack of blaming the outside agencies. Outside agencies will take the benefit once our internal problems are there. If our internal problems are there, we are dividing our own people. Why today we cannot call the people there living as Manipuris and Indians? Indian blood is being shed. Now, if this is the problem, when we are doing in-house fighting, obviously the outsiders will take advantage, whether it is China, whether it is ISI, whether it is a Bangladeshi rebel, anyone. So we are the ones who are to be blamed. It is an in-house problem. Let us restore our house in order. And I think you, in your narrative, was also talking whether the president's rule is the option. Options are many. Firstly, there has to be seriousness. You look at the past governments also and the present government. The coup has been going on, including now with the NSC groups, because luckily both of us have also been in the military operations directorate. So we know what kind of effort had gone about. Now, are we ready as a nation to start having the entire Northeast burn with our internal problems? If it burns, let me tell you that China will be happiest, because Indian Army thereafter will get, unfortunately, roped into or sucked into the counter-insurgency operations there, and our main role to fight the Chinese on the line of actual control will suffer. So I think this issue has to be resolved politically. Whether the Chief Minister has to be sacked, that the government of India can take a decision, he can be replaced. President's rule also perhaps may not be the solution. I think firstly the trust between both the communities has been restored. I do not know how that is going to happen. No one is talking about that.
Right, that exactly. You're absolutely right. Nobody's talking about that. Mr. Thangbin Lal, do you think that the bonhomie and the peace and quiet between these two communities is the formula for peace in Manipur, or do you think that the problem has gotten much beyond that?
First of all, Vineet, thank you for having me in your show, and I like to put forth and put this on priority for the world and for our countrymen to know that the bonhomie is certainly derailed at the moment, and it is very difficult for both the communities at this hour to come together, sit on the table, negotiate and dialogue. So it has gone beyond. It has crossed the river. It has crossed the bridge. So the only solution and the way forward is not the president's rule, as General have also stated, but for me as somebody who is, who belongs to a tribal community and actually is a victim, I will say, or I will state very glaringly that it is the central government's mandate to actually come in and mediate between the two communities and actually sit at the table to dialogue and negotiate. Because what I see is that there are two, I mean, the children are fighting, the Métis and the Cookies are fighting, and the parents is acting as a mute spectator. So at this hour, at this grave hour, it is the parents to come and then come and mediate between the two warring children and find and devise a solution, so that in the form of a political solution, that's the Cookie have been demanding, that is UT with the legislature, for a permanent peace. I'm not talking about temporary peace, but a permanent peace in the region.
All right. General Sudhakarji, we have spoken about this in the past as well. But loss of life in a place where obviously people fear for their lives, there is a security, apparatus infringement by illegal immigrants. What could be the best solution? We have spoken of the president's rule. We have also spoken of the AFSPA being increased to, what already it's, in fact, a parameter is in Manipur, but that might not even be very, very popular with the locals. It's a very, very complex scenario. How would you circumnavigate this?
Vinit, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show, and compliments to both the very esteemed and distinguished co-panelists. Yes, you are right. I was wondering as to what question are you going to ask me, and even myself, what answer do I give? We have deliberated enough on this issue. Okay, just to respond to your query and give some kind of because military people are crisis managers and we are expected to be the last bastion and solution provider to any criticalities and essentially the national security. Firstly, Manipur is a border state. I know I am stating the obvious, the very exotic to repeat. It's a border state. Anything happening in Manipur has got a direct bearing on the entire Northeast. It's already happening. Spillover is taking place. Gradual expansion, it's spreading. So why Manipur alone? Today we should talk the least about, I'm the one who's been always alluding to external factor along the border, internal factor, within internal factor, core issues. So I personally feel that we have not been looking at Manipur issue seriously. I feel, this is my personal view, I may be held accountable for what I say. I know a lot of messages keep coming threatening me from unknown people. These are either the center or the state has not taken it seriously. Had they taken it seriously, perhaps had I been in the leadership myself, as a civilian leadership, I would have taken up the issue as like my senior colleague from Maha Regiment has already outlined. It has to be taken up in a very partisan, non-partisan manner, like a political manner. There are no two ethnicities. It is only a common challenge before the national security. No Maitai, no cookies. All of us, if they have fought in 1992 to 1998, and there has been peace between 2008 to 2023 for 8 to 9 years as well. And in the spectrum of 3rd of May 2023 till date, there was also a spell of, I would say, normalcy and stability for about 3 to 4 months. So why these things are taking place in bits and spurts? Are they only because of the illegal migrants? To say it so simplistically would be very foolish on our part. It's a very complex issue. It's a legacy issue. It's a historical issue. There are no quick solutions. For me, my nation would do well if we are mentally prepared to look at it as a long haul. It is not going to die down so soon. It is another J&K in making, or it has started in earnest. This is first thing. I must identify the problem, the enormity of the problem, and prepare as a nation, national leader, to tackle it. Number two, what is the core issue? Core issues are many. But first and foremost is being a border state, mindful of the fact what is happening in Bangladesh, mindful of the fact that what has happened in 2017 at Doklam, Siliguri corridor, being the most vulnerable chicken neck in our country, I should be very, very careful in handling Manipur. So therefore, security has to be paramount. It cannot be incremental. Things going out of hand. Today, I sent 2,500 CRPF Another criticality rising, I said another 5,000. No. A holistic approach has to be taken and the security paradigm has to be applied. So how do I apply it? Firstly, I need to identify the area which are critical and need to isolate them as far as possible. I need to identify and segregate sensitive, hypersensitive locations or areas and allocate resources to carry out sanitization. I need to deploy my forces in a grid manner. I need to generate human intelligence. I need to have a peacemaking effort made by neutral people. I also need to take care of the weapons, arms, ammunitions which are floating around the environment. How do I disarm the people who are already armed with the looted weapons which have been taken from the state armory or having come across the border into our area? So if these are the kinds of threats, then perhaps I would like to begin with unity. You know, in army they call it unitary command. If the command is not one man, if the leadership is not with one person who is accountable and responsible and who is answerable to the democracy, then I think we are not discharging our responsibility in an effective manner. So therefore, what does it demand? It demands the following things. First and foremost, we have been talking a lot about unified headquarters. Does it really exist? To my mind, to my understanding, Vineet, I don't think, even if it is existing on paper, on ground, it is non-existent, because if the military leadership is not there as part of the unified headquarters, it is as good as defunct, number one. Number two, does anybody pass order and ensure the accountability of peace and harmony? I don't think so. Is military operation taking place based on hard intelligence, on actionable intelligence, to sanitize, to disarm the people? Unless we recover all the weapons, ammunitions which are floating around in the environment, in the isolated or localized areas, there will be no progress. It will carry on like J&K. And last but not the least, one point I wish to highlight is that politics is actually spoiling everything. In my opinion, time has come. Sooner we take a very serious call, and better it is. Otherwise, the things are spilling over to Nagaland. Nagas, I read the other day, the Naga leader has started claiming that if you do not settle the issue, I am going to revive the terrors of the insurgency here in this, and will keep asking for greater lingam, Naga lingam. Similarly, there are other groups also. A few days back, I think a month and a half back, in Assam itself, there are 28 blasting mechanisms. Some explosives were recovered, I think, out of which 8 or 9 had blasted. Something was in the news. I was out of the country for the for some job. When I came back, it was very alarming to note all this. So, joining the dots, Vinay, a serious effort has to be made. You cannot go in for 2,000 and 5,000. We need to appreciate the threat in a very holistic manner, cater for forces along the international border for anti-infiltration, to guard against these illegal migrants taking place, weapons and ammunition, narcotics coming across, etc., etc. We also need to have a regulatory mechanism to check whether people coming in are being issued with some document, visa-like procedure. Their stay in India should also be accounted for, and they must go back to the country, Myanmar. And third and most important is that if there is any weapon coming, we need to investigate what is the primary source. Is it duly, or it is being domestically manufactured in the local areas? Then only, because the 0 point, we need to zero down to the sources where it is being manufactured, weapons and ammunition. And there is a lot of narrative building, psychological warfare, Vinay. Psychological warfare.
Okay, let me also open Mr. Kishan into this conversation. Mr. Kishan, is President's rule the answer? And of course, General Sudhakarji has flagged off very important concerns that the government definitely has to take stock of, because if it's not done, then we are going to have a bigger problem in our hands when it comes to Manipur.
Yes, President rule may be the temporary solution, but it's not the long-term solution. The people, especially the Meitei people who are living in the periphery, felt that both the state and state government, which is led by Honorable Chief Minister CM Biren Singh, and the union government are not sincere enough to protect the villager residing in the periphery. That's one. And it's always been seen that many arms armed forces are coming in. There are almost 70 to 80,000 armed forces present in the state of Manipur, and also armed force special power has been imposed. So the Meitei people are now thinking that we may have to face the similar situation which we faced during the 90s and 200s. So if, as the respected general has already clearly stated, that there is a political situation, it's completely true. From the initial day, as long as the government start forming in 2022, there is always a political crisis, internal crisis between the ruling party. Until today, there is non-stop taking political advantage between the different elected members. As a result, the concern of the people has not been heard properly. The grievance of all the community, not just one community, Kuki, Meitei or Naga, there are also different ethnic communities living in the state. There are almost 33 ethnic group, recognized ethnic group living in the state of Manipur. All their grievance has not been addressed properly. We cannot only address grievance for only one community. So the state as well as the union could not even organize properly effective measures to address the grievance of these entire people of the state. That need to be addressed first, and the approach of the state as well as union should be people-oriented, has to be people-oriented and has to be solution-oriented. The present imposition of curfew, internet ban, and the firing of tear gas, sheltering of bombs will not bring any solution. We are in this vicious cycles for the past 1.5 years. So my only humble submission that all the parties, both the state and the center, need to be sincere enough, even the elected members, and should focus on people-oriented approach, peaceful approach and solution-based, not for some taking political advantages, considering and taking over situational advantages, as many seems to have took in the current crisis. That's all I would like
You're
to
absolutely right. We've also
done.
run out of time, but appreciate the perspective and the solutions that have come up in this conversation with some of the people who understand the problem intimately.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.